Well, hello, America. I'm Richard Dixon, your host of AmericanVotingShow.com, where you, the audience, get to make your decisions after watching this week's show. On this week's show, we're going to talk about HVCC, which stands for Home Value Conduct Code. It started in 2009. Basically, there was so much coercion, bad things going on in fraud between the mortgage people, appraisal companies, and some appraisers. The HVCC process is where basically you are using a third-party service that orders the appraisals through the appraisal companies directly and not by the mortgage company or appraisers. It's actually a system designed to try to lessen fraudulent activities. I have to agree with one of the helpful links below when a gentleman actually states about HVCC, the cure is actually worse than the disease. And I, as a 19-year veteran in this mortgage industry, I have to totally agree. There are probably better than 60 good reasons why people like me in this mortgage profession do not agree with this HVCC. But since this is a very short show, I'll just list you just a few. Problem number one, it is costing the consumers more money, almost sometimes double the amount of cost to get an appraisal done nowadays than it used to. Problem number two, no one is policing the appraisal management companies, which, by the way, are owned by banks. And if you think about it, people in my profession has been ridiculed about adding junk fees. So now we have the banking system that owns the appraisal management companies that are throwing junk fees, but without calling it a junk fee. Problem number three, now that the appraisal management companies are the ones that are assigning the appraisal orders to the appraisers, and these appraisers are basically on a signed up list with these companies. And so you don't really know whether you're getting a very good appraiser or one that's not. It's just kind of like on a round robin system. I mean, follow me here. Could you imagine if God forbid this happens, that the insurance company decide what surgeon you or you're not going to get, and ones that are on the list is the one that next one up is the one that gives you an operation. Let's hope he doesn't have shaky hands. You get my drift. Problem number four. Now with this AMCs being involved, they're the ones that collect the money, and believe it or not, appraisers are getting work, but they're also getting paid sometimes 30, 60, 90 days after they do the work. And with that being said, a lot of the appraisers that I think they've lost their sense of accountability, okay, as they're doing the work being performed. And it's like anything more. It's like they're getting paid regardless, which is one side of the coin, but because of that, they're not performing the work as they should be doing in a timely manner. All right, here's problem number five. I believe this whole HVCC and paying for an appraisal in advance without results is probably the most unconstitutional thing I can think of. Let me give you an example. If you and I took our automobiles in to get it worked on, and we were asked to pay $500 before anybody looked at it, does that seem fair? And if so, we had to pay it in advance. If the automobile repair was not done correctly to our satisfaction, then we have some kind of repercussion to make them fix it correctly. Well, in an appraisal, once it's done, there is no fixing it. The biggest problem with appraisals, all in general, has been the shortage of values. But it doesn't take HVCC to try to correct that problem. As a matter of fact, I'm going to cover that subject matter on another upcoming show. Well, this time around, I went out to a few of my colleagues in the industry to see what their thoughts were on this HVCC.
As a loan officer in this industry, what are your thoughts about HVCC?
Well, I understand why HVC was probably implemented to eliminate collusion between appraisers and lenders for value on properties. However, the ultimate result of HVC I don't think has necessarily achieved that because, number one, We have banking institutions that actually own the appraisal management companies who are doing these appraisals, which I think right there in itself is a conflict of interest. Number two, because of the multi-layers that have now been created between the appraisal management companies that have naturally come out of this HVC, federal legislation, what we've ultimately done is increase the cost substantially to obtaining an appraisal. And this cost, of course, is passed on to the borrower ultimately. So appraisals that may have been $200 or $300 are now $500, $600. And I'm not quite sure if those extra monies that are being charged by the appraisal management companies and or the lenders truly give added value to the quality of the appraisal that you ultimately receive. So in essence, I don't know if HVCC needs to be remodified or restructured, but there are definitely some inherent problems existing currently.
As a mortgage broker, what are your thoughts about HVCC?
Well, the first thing is basic. It's driven up costs for our consumers. Appraisals have gone from roughly $250, $275 for a conventional appraisal to $350 and $400, and then even higher on the government products. The second thing is I think the actual quality of the product that we receive, the appraisals, declined because there's been a lot of appraisers that couldn't get business because they weren't doing the type of quality work that we demanded, that now get work because appraisals are randomly given out to people that sign up with these companies. Therefore, you typically have less experienced appraisers doing the work for less money. Third is another way that it's cost the consumer more money is the lack of portability. Used to, when a client would come to someone like ourselves, mortgage brokers, if for whatever reason we weren't able to make that loan work at the investor that we were sending it to, we could package that loan up, use the same appraisal, and send it to the next lender, thus not having to have the borrower go through another additional expense of an appraisal, which makes perfect sense. Now, since HVCC has been implemented, those appraisals are no longer portable, which means if we get a file denied, we can't use that appraisal with the next investor, which makes absolutely no sense. But there again, our government has in their mind fixed the problem, but all they did was create layers of legislation that has done nothing but cause the borrowers to have to pay more money. It slowed the process down, creating a longer period of time that we have to work on files, and also the quality of the product that we are receiving and the borrower is getting, I feel is inferior. And then once we get that inferior product, there's almost zero way. There's almost no way in whatsoever to go back and rebut the value on that property.
Well, here are my thoughts. I believe that fraud, period, whether it's in mortgages, appraisals, etc., is a wrong thing. So let's go back to the basics of punishing the wrongdoers. Make the penalty stiffer than it ever has been. Hang them if you have to, but I think it's wrong to have to overcharge customers when the system has to create a third-party management company and that takes advantage of unsuspecting customers. Now, if HVCC and this AMC is the right thing to do, then I have a proposal. Let's make the AMCs a non-profit organization. Let them put our money where their mouth is. Okay, America, it's time to vote. Today is a two-part vote. First vote is yes, we should abolish HVCC, or no, keep it as it is. Second part of our vote today is yes, we should make these AMC companies a not-for-profit organization, or no, keep it as it is. I need your vote, America. Click that mouse. Till next time, I'll see you then.